Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the continuation of my book reading of Stephen King's Elevation. Here we go. He grabbed his iPad and jogged the quarter mile to the renovated farmhouse where McCobb and Donaldson had lived for the last 8 months or so. Since opening Holly Friel, he knew the schedule pretty well, in the offhand way one gets to know one's neighbors' comings and goings, and this would be a good time to catch Deirdre alone. Missy was a chef of the restaurant, and usually left to start dinner prep around 3. Deirdre, who was the out front half of the partnership, came around 5. She was the one in charge. Scott believed both at work and at home Missy Donaldson impressed him as a sweet little thing who looked at the world with a mixture of fear and wonder. More of the former than the latter, he guessed. Did McComb see herself as Missy's protector as well as her partner? Maybe. Probably. He mounted the steps and rang the doorbell. At its chime, Dee and Dum began to bark in the backyard. Deirdre opened the door. She was dressed in a pretty figure-fitting dress that would no doubt look smashing as she stood at the hostess stand and then showed parties to their various tables. Her eyes were her best features, a bewitching shade of greeny grey and lidded a bit at the corners. "Oh, Mr. Carey," she said. "How really nice to see you," and the smile which said how really boring to see you. "I'd love to invite you in, but I have to get down to the restaurant. Lots of reservations tonight. Leaf peepers, you know." "I won't keep you," Scott said, smiling his own smile. "I just dropped by to show you this." And he held up his iPad so she could observe Dee and Dunn squatting at his front lawn and shitting in tandem. She looked at it for a long time. The smile faded. Seeing that didn't give him as much pleasure as he had expected. "Alright," she said at last. The artificial lilt has gone out of her voice. Without it, she sounded tired and older than her years, which might number 30. "You win." "It's not about winning, believe me," as it came out of his mouth. Scott remembered the college teacher once more marking that when someone added "believe me" to the sentence, you should be aware. "You've made your point, and I can't come down and pick it up now, and Missy's already at work, but I will after we close. You won't even need to turn on your porch light. I should be able to see the leavings by the streetlight." "You don't need to do that." Scott was starting to feel slightly mean, in the wrong way, somehow. "You win," she said. "I've already bagged it up. I just..." "What? Want to get one up on me?" "If that was it, mission accomplished. From now on, Missy and I will do our running down in the park. There will be no need for you to report us to the local authorities." "Thank you, and good evening." She started to close the door. "Wait a second," Scott said. "Please." She looked at him through the half-closed door, face expressionless. "Going to an animal control guy over a few piles of dog crap never crossed my mind, Mr. McCobb. Look, I just want us to be good neighbors. My only problem was the way you brushed me off, refused to take me seriously. That isn't how good neighbors do. At least, not around here." "Oh, we know exactly how good neighbors do," she said. "Around here." A slightly superior smile came back, and she closed the door with still on her face. Not before, however, she had seen a gleam in her eyes that might have been tears. "We know exactly how good neighbors do around here," he thought, walking back down the hill. What the hell did I mean? Dr. Bob called him 2 days later to ask if there had been any change. Scott told him things were progressing as before. He was down to 207.6. It's pretty damn regular. Getting on the bathroom scale is like watching the numbers go backwards on a car odometer. but still no change in your physical dimensions? Waist size? Shirt size? I'm still a 40 waist and 34 legs. I don't need to tighten my belt or let it out, although I'm eating like a lumberjack. Eggs, bacon, and sausage for breakfast. Sauces on everything at night. Got to be at least 3,000 calories a day. Maybe 4. Did you do any research? I did, Dr. Bob said. So far as I can tell, there's never been a case like yours. There are plenty of clinical reports about people whose metabolism are in overdrive. People who eat, as you say, like lumberjacks, and still stay thin. But no cases of people who weigh the same naked and dressed. Oh, but it's so much more, Scott said. He was smiling again. He smiled a lot these days, which was probably crazy given the circumstances. He was losing weight like a late-stage cancer patient, but the work was going like gangbusters, and he had never felt more cheerful. Sometimes, when he needed a break from the computer screen, he put on Motown and danced around the room, while Bill the cat staring at him as if he'd gone mad. Tell me the more. This morning I weighed 208 flat, straight out the shower and buck naked. I got my hand weights out of the closet, the 20 pounders, and stepped on the scale with one in each hand. Still 208 flat. Silence on the other end of for the moment. Then Alice said, "You're shitting me. Bob, if I'm lying, I'm dying." More silence. Then it's as if you got some kind of off-weight, repelling force field around you. I know you don't want to be poked or prodded, but this is an entirely new thing, and it's big. There could be implications if you can't even conceive of. I don't want to be a freak, Scott said. Put yourself in my place. Would you at least think about it? I have, a lot, and I have no urge to be part of Inside View's tabloids Hall of Fame, with my picture right between the Night Fleer and Slenderman. Also, I've got my work to finish. I've promised Nora a share of the money, even though the divorce was final before I got the job, and I'm pretty sure she can use it. How long would that take? Maybe 6 weeks? Of course there will be maneuvers and test runs that will keep me busy into the new year. But 6 weeks to finish the main job. If this continues at the same rate, you'll be down around 165 by then. But still looking like a mighty man, Scott said, and laughed. There's that. You sound remarkably cheery considering what's going on with you. I feel cheerful. That might be nuts, but it's true. Sometimes I think it's the world's greatest weight loss problem. Yes, Alice said. Well, where does it end? One day, not long after his phone conversation with Dr. Bob, there came a light knock at Scott's front door. If he had his music turned up any louder, today it was Ramones. He never would have heard it, and his visitor might have gone away, probably with relief, because when he opened the front door, Missy Donaldson was standing there, and she looked scared half to death. It was the first time I'd seen her since taking the photos of Dee and Dum relieving themselves on his lawn. They supposed Deirdre had been as good as her word, and the women were now exercising their dogs in the town park. If they were allowed the boxers to run free down there, they really might run afoul of the animal control guys, no matter how well behaved the dogs were. The park, at least lawn. Scott had seen the signs. Mrs. McDonaldson, he said hello. It was also the first time he'd seen her alone, and he was careful not to step over the threshold or make any sudden moves. She looked like she might leap down the steps and run away like a deer if he had. She was blonde, not as pretty as her partner, but with a sweet face and clear blue eyes. There was a fragility about her, something that made Scott think of his mother's decorative china plates. It was hard to imagine this woman in a restaurant kitchen. restaurant kitchen, moving from pot to pot and skillet to skillet, to the steam, plating, veggie diners, and bossing around to help while she did it. Can I help you? Would you like to come in? I have coffee. Or tea, if you prefer. She was shaking her head before she was halfway through these standard offers of hospitality. Hospitality. And doing it hard enough to make her ponytail flip from one shoulder to the other. I just came to apologize. For Deirdre. There's no need to do that, he said. And no need to take your dogs all the way down to the park either. All I ask is that you carry a couple of poop bags and check out my lawn on your way back. That's not too much to ask, is it? No, not at all. I even suggested it to Deirdre. She also snapped my head off. Scott sighed. I'm sorry to hear that, Miss Donaldson. You can call me Missy if you like, looking down and blushing slightly, as if she make a remark that might be taken for risk. I would like that, because all I want is for us to be good neighbors. Most of the folks up here on the view are, and I seem to have gotten off on the wrong foot, although I could have gotten off on the right one. I don't know. Still looking down, she said. We've been here for almost 8 months, and the only time you've really talked to us, either of us, was when our dogs messed up on your lawn. This was true that Scott would have liked. I came up with a bag of donuts after you moved in, he said, rather weakly, but you weren't at home. He thought she would ask why he hadn't tried again, but she didn't. I came to apologize for Deirdre, but I also want to explain her. She raised her eyes to this. It took an obvious effort. Her hands were clenched together at the waist of her jeans. But she did it. She's not mad at you, really. Well, she is. But you're not the only one. She's mad at everybody. Castle Rock was a mistake. We came here because the place was almost business ready. The price was right. And we want to get out of the city. Boston, I mean. We knew it was a risk, but it seemed like an acceptable one. And the town is so beautiful. Well, you know that, I guess. Scott nodded. But we're probably going to lose the restaurant if things don't turn around by Valentine's Day. For sure. That's the only reason she let them put her on that poster. She won't talk about how bad things are. But she knows it. We both do. She said something about the leaf peepers, and everyone says last summer was especially good. The summer was good, she said, speaking with a little more animation now. As for the leaf peepers, you get some, but most of them go further west into New Hampshire. North Conway has all those outlet stores to shop in, and more touristy stuff to do. I guess when winter comes, we'll get the skiers passing through on their way to Bethel or Sugarloaf. Scott knew most skiers bypassed the rock, taking Route 2 to the western Maine ski areas. But why bump her out more than she already was? Only when winter comes, we need the locals to pull us through. You know how it is. You must. The locals trade with other locals during the cold winter, and it's just enough to tide them over until the summer people come back. The hardware store, the lumber yard, Patsy Diner, they make do through the lean months. Only not many locals come to Friol. Some, but not enough. Deirdre says it's just not because we're lesbians, but because we're married lesbians. I don't like to think she's right, but I think she is. I'm sure, he trailed off, but it isn't true. How in hell did he know? When he never even considered it. Sure of what? She asked. Not in a snotty way, but an honest, curious one. He thought of his bedroom scale again, and the relentless way the numbers rolled back. Actually, I'm sure of nothing. If it's true, I'm sorry. You should come down for dinner some night, she said. This might have been a snide way of telling him she knew he'd never take a meal at Holy Friol. but he didn't think so. He didn't think this young woman had much in the way of snideness in her. "Oh well," he said. "I assume you do have frioles." She smiled. It lit her up. "Oh yes, many kinds." He smiled back. "Stupid question, I guess." "Well, I have to go, Mr. Carey." "Scott." She nodded. "All right, Scott. It's good to talk to you. It took all my courage to come down here, but I'm glad I did." And with this, I'm gonna stop it for this next part of the book reading, Stephen King's Elevation. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you very much for listening. And yeah, I'll get you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.